One of my clocks is wrong. It says 5 after. Anyway, hi there, intrepid quilters. It was a rough night. There we go. It was a rough night. Various reasons. One of which is I went on vacation over the weekend. I know, right? The best time to go is like end of the season. Well, maybe not the week that kids go back to school and college because that's kind of really busy. Um, the husband and I went to St. Andrews and we stayed at the Algonquin Shishi Frou Frou Hotel. If you follow me personally on Facebook, and bless your heart if you do, you saw some pictures. Yeah, we just wandered around a lot. We walked a lot. Oh my God, I still hurt. Um, yeah, but one of the things I did while we were down there was I stopped in to the Wee Fabric Shop down in St. Andrews. There it is up on the screen. It is a wee shop. It's about as wee as my shop. Owner's very, very nice. Made a new friend. And if you're in St. Andrews, definitely stop in and have a look around. She has different fabric than the rest of us, than a lot of us, yes. A little more modern leaning and stuff, and it's a cute little shop. And I mean, it's geared for tourists and things. So, uh, yeah, she has some handmade stuff, a lot of nautical items. It was pretty cool, but it was also pretty crowded because they had an antiques market right outside the door in the big courtyard thingy place, whatever they call it there in St. Andrews. So we wandered around a bit and had our masks on, and it was like, too many people. Speaking of masks, you can tell me if you've ever been to swanky hotels like the Algonquin. So much fun. And we were in like a nice, quiet spot. It was great. Good morning, Danielle. Yes, I forgot to tell Danielle of my meeting of the other shop owner, who I did let know that we could commiserate anytime. She was welcome to commiserate with either one of us. So she did. Let's see. Oh, Danielle always likes to know what shirt I'm wearing. It's my vintage 1970. Aged to perfection, all original parts, or as I like to say, all original parts that I have left. They are all original. A couple missing, but what can you do when you're old? Okay, we fabric shop. Blah, blah, blah. Yes, I started talking about masks, and I do see some people still wearing them, which is great. I do ask people to wear it in my shop if they can, because it's very hard to social distance in here. Yeah, and it's tiny, and it's my house. So that's appreciated. I can make some exceptions. I mean, if you're double vaxxed and I'm double vaxxed and it's just you and me in the store, it's very, 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 very low risk, especially if you have breathing issues or something like that. So that's good. Hi, Mom. I'm getting you your stuff too. So for masks, I have seen people come back in and start making masks again. There was a big gap in the summer where the mask making just took a skydive and people weren't masking, but it's coming up again. So I wanted to let you know that I still have some mask panels. So it's like the width of the panel and it makes like 20 masks or more. Really fun ones. Might as well have fun with it if you're wearing them. Like, who doesn't want an alligator face? And there was the time I sewed the sample of one of them. So it is the rectangle ones that you sew with the pleats on the side and the little ear loops. And I have the ones with the adjustable doohickeys on them. So, and this one has a nose bar in it, and I have those parts too. And one of the things I did just for you was I did up some smaller kits, and I do have a free pattern that you can have if you buy the panel, which is 40% off of the 20 bucks. 40% off $20 is what? I want to say 16, but my math is fuzzy because it's morning. I did have emergency chocolate and double strength tea, but it only goes so far. I should have refilled. I did do up kits to make 5 masks, and it has the backing. It has the cambric non-woven polypropylene stuff. That's the word I was looking for. And it has the ear loops, and it has the nose pieces. Everything you need to make 5 masks all in one for 18 bucks, which is pretty good. And some of them are kid themed. Like this one is all cute. This one's all cute animals. I cut up a couple panels and just sort of separated out things into themes. I had fun with it because I mean, I called cute animals. Another one is rainbows. Everything that was rainbows. I have another kit there called things that will kill you. It's all sharks and robots and dinosaurs. Technically, things that will kill you. So, good morning, everybody. Today, I wanted to talk about scrappy things too, aside from the masks that are 20% off. We'll segue. We will segue, but we'll segue to while we were tidying up and getting ready for fall. Emma discovered there were some samples that they started to sew and forgot. So Emma went and finished up a bunch of these sample placemats from some of our placemat panels that we had with a nice red bike and your fall baskets. These are the placemats with the little borders on them. And we are out of that green. And this is what the placemat panels look like with no border. Still a nice placemat size. You just put your batting scraps in it. It legit doesn't matter what batting you put in here, honestly. You're just going to throw them on your table. So, and the reason I'm mentioning that is we've been so busy and so slow making our samples. Emma says, is there even any of these panels left? Well, you, dear reader, dear quilter, dear viewer, I have found 2. So I have 2 left. 2 sets of 4. So if you want one, you got to come in it. They're $12. I should probably mark them down. Let's put them 20% off. Because I know the fabric's all on sale. The fabric's half gone. There's lots of the tomato fabric. And I'm also mentioning that because I still didn't get this bound. I did a sample quilt of the country market. Someone let me know that sometimes I show quilts a little too quickly. So if you have some constructive feedback, I am very happy to hear it and make adjustments. Just letting you know, I won't get offended. I used to work in tech, remember? It's really hard to hurt my feelings after repeatedly being told all day that I don't know what I'm doing. That's what it's like being a woman in tech. Woo! My mom's hinting that she loves the placemat. Gotcha, Mom. Want to see something cool? There we go. Comment show here. They should. Sweet. So if I do this and people leave comments, then you can all see them. But I thought that was cool. We don't need it for today, but it's one of those live nifty things. Hi, Liz. Liz loves these country market ones too, or was it the coffee ones? Anyway, so there was this quilt I finished. Isn't it cute? I know. It's very simple, just squares and pinwheels. Aha. You all saw that, right? So that was with the country market stuff. And by the time I did up a kit, there was barely enough to do the kit. And I had to substitute one of the fabrics. So I have 1 kit left to make that quilt that I just showed you. It's got this nice text print in it. And the kit is $85. It makes a throw. First one in here to buy it gets it. The other thing is I have lots of the free pattern that is in the kit. So when we order a full line of fabric, depending on the manufacturer that it comes from, sometimes they send us some lovely, they call them sell sheets, stuff, sheets of whatever to help us sell the fabric. That's why it's called sell sheets. Makes total sense, right? So I have lots, because sometimes I just get some and then stuff runs out. But I have lots of this one. I have lots of other ones. There's some free patterns. I mean, come on, you can come down and grab some free patterns. Legit don't care. I just want to, some of them are older. Like they've been hanging around since last year. So you can take them home and work some magic. It's a free pattern. Come on. So that's with the country market. Oh, and the other thing I did, I should probably do this before I talk scrappy. The placemats. I restocked the glide. So the glide is restocked, and I tried to stock it to last the winter. So I was going through sales figures from over the last year, plus things that were low on the shelves, and some idiot forgot to stock one of the colors, like completely. It was even on the list, and there is a big fat empty spot on our nicely stocked shelf. Don't know. what happened there. I'm telling you. Anyway, so the glide is in. There's lots of different colors. Aside from that one that somebody didn't order because whatever. And they came in really good boxes. Our family loves like to talk about really good bags, really good boxes. I have a box downstairs that's used to hold my nanny's diaries and used to hold some other stuff before that. But I think the box might be older than me. It's wax cardboard. I know I've gone on about this box before, but it is a seriously good box. I got some other good boxes with the glide thread though. It was great. So anyway, where were we? The glide has been restocked and there's plenty of it. Now remember, this is for quilting. I do have people use it for piecing, but it's very, very shiny and meant to be seen. It'll piece fine. I mean, it is 40 weight, but it's very shiny and it's very excellent for quilting or machine embroidery if you have a machine that embroiders. And we have lots of colors and we have lots in stock. So that's great. Now, we can get to the scrappy bits, but I need more tea. So I had a lady stop in. She knows I love scrappy. She knows that I also love to work on tiny things. So she had made a quilt with some K facet fabrics and she gave me a bunch of scraps. These ones I wound up, I didn't use them, from a quilt that she was making or she had made. And she said they were too pretty to throw out. She didn't know what to do with them. She didn't like using tiny pieces. She didn't often make scrap quilts. So she wasn't sure. So she dropped them off and gave them to me. And it was a Ziploc sandwich bag full of scraps like this. This is a nice little tiny triangle right there. So she wanted to see what I could make out of that. And I had some ideas right away that I knew I wanted to make some flying geese, but different. And I wanted to pair it with a dark background. And this is my new favorite black. It looks really black here. But it's a blue black. It's called Pepper from Kona. And I decided on the Dutchman's puzzle. This is what I made with the scraps that she gave me. These are some extra blocks. Because I was really happy with how this turned out. It was kind of fiddly because I had to trim. I had to go through like, do I want to cut and trim? Do I want a paper piece? And the paper piece would have been way more accurate, but it was harder to get the triangles on the paper pattern and stuff. And it was just as fiddly in the end as just doing them manually with some oversized background and then trimming them to size. I'm a fan of trimming. Well, I'm not really a fan of trimming, but if you want it to look perfect, oversize and trim, it's great. So I've got some scraps left. But you want to see what I made. It's not quilted yet. Of course it's not. I've already got customer quilts on the frame. But this is what I made with somebody's trash. Basically, I'm going to call this quilt One Quilter's Trash. See? Just some really nice blocks. And if you look down here, there were some that were just leftovers and didn't make a complete block. So as your eye travels down the quilt, the blocks start fading away. So to me, it adds this really nice visual element of, oops, I ran out, but we made lemonade out of lemons. And these little squares here I added from my own stash, but it was like one fat quarter. I barely used any of it. So I am pretty happy with how this quilt full of somebody else's scraps turned out. She was going to throw this out. Can you imagine? My mom is horrified in the comments right now. I'm really happy though with this one. So there's that. But mom's like, show one of my quilts. So my mom, she makes lots of quilts. Talk about her so much. She should be a co-host. Feel free to pontificate in the comments, Mom. I did get this scrappy quilt done for her, doing her quilts in batches. So this one is the courthouse steps. You just throw some scraps together. I've been talking to lots of customers about scrappy quilts. A lot of the times you're just putting them in the lights and darks. Lights and darks. You want some light backgrounds, you use your light scraps. You want some dark parts, you use your scraps. Just throw them in there. You can see in a couple of these blocks here, the whites, some of the whites aren't even solid. They aren't even tone on tone. They're like a really light print. That one's actually a very minty green, but you can't tell because once you throw it all together, it all works. She's even used a nice stripe down here. So yes, I will stand back so you can see the overall effect. See, doesn't matter when you get that far away. It all works. Just throw it all together. Don't overthink it. My other tip, which I gave some ladies last week, is they were like, well, how can I match the thread? Because it's all different colors and I'm supposed to match the thread. What do I do? What do I do? You can pick a neutral. You can do white. Everybody uses white up, or like an off white or a very light gray. The other thing that I'm doing when I sew like really scrappy quilts, and I'm just trying to get stuff done, I inherited some thread and picked up different threads here and there, and I'm always testing different kinds of thread. So I got a lot of different brands and colors of thread sometimes. And you'll get a spool that's like half empty and you don't know how much is left on it. Throw it in your scrap quilt. I have done scrap quilts with like 3 different colors of thread, different colors on the bobbin and the top, and you don't notice in the end. You really don't. Like I said, it's a scrap quilt. Don't overthink it. The other neat part of this, I just did a meander. It's very cozy. I did a meander all over this quilt, but the other thing I did that you can barely even see, because you're quilting, you just want it mostly to add some texture if it's all over. Because this was a scrap quilt and you're like, what color am I going to pick to quilt it in? I could have picked something like a beige or a cream or a finer weight, like a 60 weight would just sink right in there. You wouldn't even see the thread itself, regardless of color, unless it was really dark. But in this case, I used a rainbow variegated. It's red and yellow and blue and green. And honestly, look, you don't even tell. It's such a thin line all over everything. And there's no place it really builds up that you can't even tell until you're staring right at it. And you got to look at one of the really light pieces to even see. But the overall effect is still absolutely gorgeous. You're welcome, Mother. So that's that. So that's my first advice. Don't overthink your scrap quilts. So that's that one. The next quilt my mom did, I wanted to show you the back first. This is one of those prints that you get that's so gorgeous, but it has like a border along the selvage. Mom used one of those on the back. And I think it might have been a tablecloth. I'm not sure, because hems were undone. My mom likes to go to thrift stores and collect various linens, sheets, stuff like that. You'll often find fabric in thrift stores in with the sheets and stuff. I know over at Value Village, that's where they put them. So this one, and it wasn't quite wide enough, but I had coincidentally, I had some flannel sheet left over. See, I'm thrifty too, that I used on the country market quilt that I showed you earlier. It was a white fitted sheet, but it was still in good enough condition to use as a quilt back. So it's already pre-worn and pre-loved. But the texture and the feel of it and the fadedness of it blended with this back that my mom had already picked. So I used it to just make it a little bit wider. And so I had something to grip on the frame. So yeah, see, you can use a lot. And this it's cotton, but it feels like a tablecloth. It's a little, I wouldn't say coarser, but almost feels like a cotton linen blend maybe. Anyway, it made for an interesting back. But it's blue and white. My mom's favorite combo is blue and white. So here's the front of it. Ta-da! It's all in blues and beiges. So if you're stuck for scrappy ideas, you'll see Mom used all blues and beiges. It is a linen tablecloth that she bought years ago, because you hang on to those things, right? You'll use it someday. Oh, hey, this piece, I remember this piece. Mom and I share a stash back and forth. So sometimes I'll be quilting something for her and I'm like, hey, that's my fabric. I totally bought that fabric, and this one too. And I don't know, I might have stole that from you, but I used it somewhere. So it's really neat looking through here and being like, oh, hey, I know that. Oh, hey, that piece is from the shop. Ha ha. So it's great. This one I just did loops and I used a cream. It's very subtle. Just to give it some overall texture. So that's the other thing. My mom's a fan of Bonnie Hunter. Bonnie Hunter is a great use of color and it's really simple. You just break down your scraps by rough color and just use them as you would if they were all the same blue print or red print or whatever. I think mom said earlier in the comments, cotton duvet covers mom recommends as quilt backs too. Let me see. She's working on another one. She's making a Hunter Star string quilt. So she needs more red. Oh, ooh, that's a new feature. Look at that. This is what my mom said. I need red, white, and beige. So if you have red, white, and beige scraps and you don't want to throw them out, but you're not going to use them, you can drop them off and I'll give them to my mom or whoever else needs them. It's one of those things. That was really cool. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, here's another one. So the pattern of that quilt. So that's the overall design. And even though mom's saying that she didn't pay attention to the HSTs, so it could have been better, we all criticize our own work really terribly. You can still see it works. I mean, when somebody's looking at your finished quilt, they're not comparing it to the actual pattern to see if you did it right. It's a scrap quilt. Just roll with it. I'm all about helping people just get that freedom of play and stuff in their quilts. Oh, this quilt goes on and on and on. Oh, and it's nice and heavy. And there goes my back again. Throwing out my back for my mom's quilts. Woo! So yeah, it's people worry that it's like, am I gonna do this right? It's gonna look good when I'm done. It's a scrappy quilt. It's gonna look good regardless. So I find if you go into it just sort of open and not low expectations, but with no expectation with how it might look at the end and just give yourself a surprise. That's what I like doing. It's like, oh, we're gonna throw together all these little bits of fabric and see what happens. I know, right? It's crazy. I'm more about the process of the quilt, not the finished result, because you're just assembling. To me, that's for me. For other people, they love that. It's great. And I have done, like, obviously for this quilt, I followed the pattern exactly and used the fabrics exactly. And I made the quilt that was exactly like the pattern and turned out exactly like the image on the front. Not my usual thing, but it was a good process to work through. Because what I did, what I do with stuff like this is I criticize the instructions in my head and tell myself how I would have written them better. They write them briefly so they can get them on as little paper as possible. Anyway, everybody has their own process, and that's okay. Not to dog on somebody else because that works for them. What works for you might not work for somebody else, and it's totally okay if they do different. If you don't like scrap quilts and it's not your thing, also very okay. I like all kinds of quilts, so sometimes I just go back and forth between all kinds of different things. As you can see, I can do like super modern stuff or modern-ish, and I've done like really traditional stuff. I just do it all. I mean, it's great stuff. So that's that. That's all I got for you today. No new things came in, which is great in a way because where am I going to put them? Got my sticky note. What did I forget to talk about? Yeah. So the other thing that did come in was I have some muslin backing back in stock. It's boring, but it works. It's just a plain beige or a plain white. It's just muslin. And I have it in the 45-inch, the 90-inch, the 108. And one of my suppliers had it in 118. So if you have like a king size quilt and you need something 118 inches wide, because you don't want a piece of 108 with just a tiny little strip, I got you. And it's less than $20 a meter because it's muslin and it's really cheap, but it's still a really decent quality. So I have that in white and beige, and no, it does not show up properly on the website because we ran out of time. Darn it. I know life just gets in the way. If I didn't have to sleep, I would get more done. If I could sleep decently, I would probably get more done too. But that is another story for another time. I'm starting to overheat, and we've just about run out of time because I do have to clean this stuff up before the shop opens and get the rush of fall people coming by again. So it was great to see you all. I love that you showed up. Thank my mom for her scrappy quilts. She gives me something to talk about. Go visit the Wee Fabric Shop too if you're in St. Andrews, and they have their website online. So have a boo around there. Tell her I sent you. And I guess I'll see you later, peeps. Let's play the outro. Woo! I'm gonna get more tea. I need more tea. I'm gonna need a lot more tea. Oh.